let's jump right in. Today, we're diving into a really big deal in India's legal world. They've replaced a colonial-era criminal code with a brand new one, the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, or BNS for short. And this isn't just a few tweaks here and there, it's a massive overhaul that changes the definition of justice for over 1 billion people. So that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? What actually happens when you take a law from way back in 1860, the old Indian Penal Code, and completely rewrite it for the 21st century? From how we handle mob violence to our approach to mental health, the changes are, well, pretty profound. Let's get into it.
So first things first, the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, the BNS, is the new foundational rulebook for criminal law. It's officially taking the place of the Indian Penal Code, a law that's been around since the British were in charge. This move alone sets the stage for some huge shifts in how we think about crime and punishment.
Let's start with one of the most serious areas, offenses against another person's life. The BNS really tries to draw a clearer line between the different ways you can unlawfully cause someone's death. Specifically, it clarifies the fuzzy border between something called culpable homicide and what we all know as murder. Okay, so think of culpable homicide as the big, broad umbrella category for causing death. A great way to think about it is as the genus, or the main family. The key word you have to remember here is likely. The person did something knowing it was likely to cause death, but maybe it wasn't a dead certainty. Now, under that big umbrella, we find murder. This is the species. It's much more specific. This is when that act of culpable homicide gets bumped up to murder because there was a much, much higher degree of certainty or a direct intention for that act to cause death. And this slide just lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? On the left, culpable homicide is about likelihood. On the right, murder is about near certainty. So what's the whole ballgame? It all comes down to the degree of intention and the knowledge of the person committing the act. That subtle difference is everything. Okay, now for a landmark change. For the very first time in Indian law, mob lynching gets its own definition and punishment. It's a distinct crime now. The BNS says if a group of 5 or more people murder someone because of their race, caste, or personal beliefs, then every single member of that group could face the most severe punishments there are, death or life behind bars. The new code is also cracking down on hit and runs. It used to be that causing death by negligence had more of a blanket punishment. But now, the BNS makes a really important distinction. If a driver negligently causes the death and then flees the scene without reporting it, the maximum punishment doubles, from 5 years all the way up to 10. All right, let's switch gears and see how the BNS is trying to get a handle on modern crime. For the first time, it actually creates specific tiered definitions for organized crime. It recognizes that these criminal groups aren't all the same. They operate on totally different scales. And this pyramid just makes the new structure crystal clear. At the bottom, you've got petty organized crime. You know, things like ticket scalping or organized snatching rings. In the middle, you have organized crime itself. This is the more serious stuff like extortion, trafficking, and big-time cybercrime. And then, right at the top is a terrorist act, which is defined as an act that threatens the very unity and security of the nation. You know, it's not all about just handing out tougher punishments. The BNS also introduces what you could call a more compassionate approach, especially when it comes to mental health. And this signals a really fundamental shift away from just punishing people in certain very sensitive situations. And here's one of the biggest changes, a really significant one, the decriminalization of attempted suicide. I mean, under the old law, trying to take your own life was actually a punishable crime. The BNS completely scraps that. It reframes the act not as a crime, but as a sign of severe distress, a cry for help. And this quote really gets to the heart of why this change was made. The old law was seen as just cruel, penalizing people who were clearly in need of support. This new approach aligns up the criminal code with the Mental Health Care Act, which basically says we should assume someone attempting suicide needs our help, not a criminal record. All right, and finally, let's look at how the new code tries to better protect the most vulnerable people in society. It does this by bringing in much stricter penalties for acts that cause serious, life-altering injuries. This table lays it all out. You can see that general grievous hurt still gets up to 7 years. But the BNS now has enhanced punishments for specific terrible outcomes. And the one to really pay attention to is for the horrific crime of an acid attack. There is now a minimum sentence of 10 years, and it can go all the way up to life imprisonment. That is a very powerful statement. So there you have it. The BNS is trying to address everything from mob violence and organized crime to hit and runs and mental health. It's a massive legal reset. But the biggest question of all is still hanging in the air. Will this new code actually work for modern India? Well, its true test is only just beginning.